In this video, we are going to look at what it's like to solve quadratic equations by graphing. Now, many of you have done units on graphing and have probably solved quadratic equations by graphing, but it's valuable here so that we know what our solutions represent on the graph. Here, if we have the function f of x equals x squared minus 7x minus 18, our graph presents as a parabola, which is not 1 to 1. Now, if we set this equal to 0, then you can see what that is saying is where is the y value 0? So the y value would be 0 on the x-axis here when x is a -2, and here when x is 9. But we notice if we would have solved this by factoring, we'd have x minus 9 times x plus 2 would be how that factored. And then using the zero product rule, we could see that x minus 9 would equal 0, so x would equal 9. And here, if this times this equals 0, the x plus 2 might be the cause of x equaling 0. So then solving that, we get x equals -2. And those are where those solutions come from, right there. Similarly, on our second one here, we have a negative x squared plus 25. The negative lead coefficient in front of the x squared is going to make the parabola open downward. The 25, that's where it crosses the y-axis. But if we set it equal to 0, what we're really asking is where is the function value or the y value 0? So when you're going left or right, when are you not going up or down? And that's going to happen at a -5 and a +5, which would be the solutions here. And if indeed we solve this by factoring or by completing the square or by, let's see, the quadratic formula, we would get these two answers. That's what they represent. Let's go ahead and look at problem number 1. Oops, that's interesting. Well, let's go ahead and look at problem number 1. It says solve each equation using your graphing calculator or Desmos. Draw, plot the graph, label the points of intersection, and clearly identify the final solutions. So we're going to take this and graph it on Desmos. Let's do that. Here's our Desmos graph. Now in red, we have y equals x squared minus x minus 6. And my second equation that I plumped in here was y equals 0 because we set this equal to 0. Now our solutions will be where these two cross. And they cross here at a -2, 0 and 3, 0. So we're going to go graph that back on our page. All right, so I did my best to graph that over here. It crossed the x-axis at -2 and at +3, where the points -2, 0 and 3, 0, if you're listing them as ordered pairs. Now back here, we could see if we had taken this original function and factored it, we would have thought what two numbers will multiply together to give us -6 and add together to give us a -1, and that would be a -3 plus 2, so that's how it would factor. Using the zero product rule, we'd recognize that either this x minus 3 equals 0, so x equals 3, or this x plus 2 equals 0, so x would equal -2 when we solve that, giving us the same solutions as the graph. So in summary, the solutions that we've been getting are where we cross the x-axis when we set it equal to 0. In problem number 2, we don't want to set it equal to 0. We're going to try a little differently. We're going to call this y sub 1 in our graphing calculator or on Desmos. And in the second line, we're going to graph y equals -4 and see what happens. We'll try it that way first, and then we'll try it another way second. So let's do that. So in our first equation, we graphed the left side of the equation we were given on the worksheet. And in the second line, it was -4, so it says y equals -4. Here, it looks like they're crossing at 2, -4, and 7, -4. So the solutions are 2 and 7, and we'll explore that in a couple different ways. But let's go ahead and graph this on our worksheet. So graphing is the way we had it. The two graphs crossed at the point 2, -4, and 7, -4. Now, this -4 is represented because on the right side of our equation, that equals -4. So that's why those 2 points are -4. But the 2 and the 7 are what we're looking for because it said to solve. And you can see our equation is in terms of x. So we are really just looking for the x coordinates. So the x solution is 2 and 7. Now, if we would have gone ahead and solved this by factoring, we know we would have had to set this equal to 0. And to do that, we would have moved the -4 to the other side of the equation by adding 4. Then you could factor it, and it factors to x minus 7, x minus 2. Using our zero product rule, we would see we'd get the same answers, x equals 7 and x equals 2. In our next video, we'll finish looking at a few more solving by graphing questions. Thanks for watching.